Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodesh.
So it's another glorious day. One day closer to the kingdom. And so I don't really know how to start this. Just see where the Spirit takes us.
This is 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9. It says, the Lord is not slack concerning his promise, as some men count slackness, but is long suffering to usward.
Yeah, so part of the Lord's promise is his prophecy. And his prophecy is combined with the kingdom of heaven, which the kingdom of heaven is going to be established on earth.
It says, not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance.
Yeah, all that should come to repentance, meaning the elect of the nation of Israel. Okay?
It says, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with a fervent heat.
So the day of the Lord shall come as a thief of the night to the multitude of people, but not to those that have been watching as well as praying. You see, those that are in the right mind frame, they occupy themselves in prophecy. They meditate on prophecy, and they're constantly looking at the signs of the end. And so, based off what's going on in the world, it's a good indication that we're in the last days, you know?
It says, elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also, and the works that are therein shall be burned up.
You explain that?
Yeah, it's talking about everything you see here in America is going to be burnt up. There's not going to be a tree left standing, a blade of grass, nothing. Everything that's here in America, that's left here, I should say, everything that doesn't get beaten up in the ship is just going to be left here to get destroyed.
Yeah, by thermonuclear destruction.
It says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of person ought ye to be in all holy conversation and godliness? And when you go into that word kind of conversation, it's anastrophe, meaning how you conduct yourself.
Yeah, like, what's your mind frame? Once again, that's what it comes down to.
It says, looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth wherein dwelleth righteousness.
Yeah, because in this world, we cannot say that this is a righteous world that we live in.
Right.
You know, it's constant wickedness that we have to deal with and endure, you know.
This is, you got a precept?
Yeah. 1 Thessalonians 5 and 4. But you, brethren, are not in darkness, so that this day should overtake you as a thief. So again, we're not in darkness, meaning we walked towards the light. You know, we occupy ourselves in the scriptures. So when stuff gets real, when the destruction happens, when Jacob's struggle takes place, we're gonna know what's going on, and we're gonna know how to deal with that situation mentally and spiritually. And to be honest, shit, that might just be when I'm the happiest. That might just be when I'm the happiest.
This is John 15 and 15. It says, henceforth I call you not servants, for the servants knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friends. For all things that I have heard of my Father, I have made known unto you. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you.
Yeah, you have not chosen me, but I have chosen you. Which, that means that the elect are predestined. So you can't just make yourself of the chosen number, you know, the 144,000 or the 1/3. It's either you're of the elect or you're not.
being hip to this truth and really being in the faith is one of the greatest blessings you can receive here on this side.
Once you wake up to the fact that you can't save everybody, then it just
Flourish.
puts you more at ease.
Right.
You don't have to worry about trying to save all your favorite uncle, or your cousin. You know,
You'll get it on, the second go around.
maybe your parents.
Again, John 15 and 16, it says, "Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you." And again, that fruit that remains is talking about the elect, the chosen. Last verse. It says, "These things I command you, that ye love one another." That's it. This is Philippians chapter 4, verse 11. I'll start at 10. It says, "But I rejoiced in the Lord greatly, that now at the last your care of me hath flourished again, wherein ye were also careful, but ye lacked opportunity. Not that I speak in respect of one, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. I know both how to be abased, and I know how to be abound. Everywhere and in all things I am instructed, both to be full and to be hungry, both to abound and to suffer need."
Yeah, because Apostle Paul understood that life has its ups and its downs, its highs and its lows. So, the thing is in life, especially in this kingdom, you never want to get greedy. You never want to get too low either, because you could very easily get to that point and you fall into a sunken place. If anything, you got more reasons to be depressed and sad than to be happy.
Yeah.
So, just look for the things that make you the happiest, at least in this predicament. Just focus on that, lock in on that, and then you'll find yourself in a much more balanced mental state. And as for us, one of the things that makes us the happiest is the truth.
We understand in this setup, that we're still in subjection under, Esau. So we'll never have things the way we want it.
Right.
So even when you're going through a hard time, you're low, understand, as an Israelite, it gets better. This isn't the end all be all. And when you on a high, everything is going well for you, just know it gets better than this.
Yeah, if you're an Israelite, everything is going to be all good for you either way.
Yeah, you want to up and up.
You don't want to be an Edomite, though. So, if you are an Edomite, you got to live it up. This is your realm. This is Canaan. Live life to the fullest. You see, we haven't really experienced life as it should be yet. But we will someday.
First Kings chapter 3, verse 6 says, First Kings 3 and 6. "And Solomon said, Thou hast showed unto thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee. And thou hast kept for him this great kindness, that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne, as it is this day. And now, O Lord, my power, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. And thy servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people, that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude." This is the point. It says, "Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad, for who is able to judge this, thy so great a people?
Yeah. So, as for the nation of Israel, you want to have that leader over the nation that has good judgment, good discernment. It was King David at a time. It was King Solomon. And now the nation of Israel is left without a king. Can you get that in Hosea where it says that?
So what?
The nation of Israel in the last days should not have a king.
You said Hosea?
Yeah, it's in Hosea.
It says, in those days there was no king in Israel.
What chapter?
That's Judges.
Oh, no. You know what? Never mind.
We'll read that again. It's 1 Kings 3 and 9. Reading the NLT. It says, give me an understanding heart so that I can govern your people well and know the difference between right and wrong. For who by himself is able to govern this great people of yours? But see, when you come into this truth, you have a better understanding and you know how to discern. You know, because the scriptures is really a template on how you should live. And part of that is being fair amongst the people. Who we have ruling over us now, Esau is completely unjust and he's completely unfair. He wants everything you have and leaves you with nothing.
Give him
That's
everything and
wicked.
it's not enough.
That's wicked. Even in the kingdom of heaven, when we're in the leadership seat, we're not going to be doing the heathens like that, taking everything they have and leaving them with no substance. Like, that's wicked.
I mean, how is it in this world you have all the money, all the riches, all the resources, and it's still all about you?
Right.
You don't even try to share with the rest of the people. That's why there's a living crisis going on, cost of living crisis. People are complaining and saying how it's unsustainable living in America. I mean, all our lives we've been told to go to school, get a degree, get a job, get married, buy a house. But that blueprint may have worked for the older generation.
Right.
But for this generation, is it really feasible?
It doesn't work anymore.
Is it really obtainable?
You got to look at it like software. You got to update the software. That software, it don't work no more in the times we're living in. Like getting a college degree and getting into your career, it doesn't yield you now what it used to yield you back then.
And the latest statistic is that over 90%, 92% of people that go to college and get these degrees won't find a job within the field that they went to school for. So what does that tell you?
Because there's a competitive job market. You got 20,000 people going to school for the same job, but there's only 50 positions, you know?
And they graduate by the semester.
Right.
Combine that with the fact that we're in a recession, the economy's not doing well, it's a recipe for disaster. So, in all actuality, when there's this many doubts, people should really just do nothing. Just really try to maintain and survive. This ain't the time to be going out and trying to take risks, trying to get rich in this economy, because it's not going to work.
Think about how, say something, let's use a house for example, $500,000 house, right? Years ago, that same house today will be $900,000. How is anybody supposed to sustain that? A whole jump that high, like, people are supposed to live like this? You're supposed to scrape and work 2 and 3 jobs for this?
And it don't really matter that much if you did buy the house 20 or 30 years ago prior to inflating. Because what are you going to do with that 900K? Now 900K is not going to get you as far as it would have 30 or 20 years ago.
Exactly.
So it's really like you're breaking even almost.
And it's only getting worse. It's not getting better.
So everything is situational right now, the way that people are living, you know. Like the scriptures say that this world is temporary. And we're seeing how it's fading right before our eyes. People are in survival mode, so it's only going to get worse.
Well, hell ain't even break loose yet.
I got a precept. You found it. Hosea 3 and 4.
This is Hosea chapter 3, verse 4. It's for the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without teraphim.
So in other words, children of Israel will be lost. We wouldn't have no leadership, culture, our identity, our nationality. That's how we went out in these last days. However, you know, this is the Great Awakening where you have a select few coming around to this knowledge.
It says, afterwards shall the children of Israel return and seek the Lord Yahweh their power.
Yeah, and how are we seeking the Lord our power? It's by coming into this knowledge of the truth. You know, pulling on the names, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, breaking down the scriptures correctly, watching after prophecy.
It says, afterwards shall the children of Israel return and seek the Lord Yahweh their power, and David their king, and shall fear the Lord and his goodness in the latter days. You see, we're going to have structure in the kingdom of heaven. You see, now we don't have a leader over us. It's really everybody's just out for self. Unless you want to set up these fake leaders above you, like Reverend Al Sharpton and Malcolm X and all these guys.
Or even president.
Or yeah, even president.
What you pulling up?
What's up?
You got a preset?
Yeah.
You got a script?
This is Deuteronomy 17 and 15.
I was gonna go there. Yeah, I was gonna
Deuteronomy 17 and 15. It says, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy power shall choose.
Yes. So, if you're gonna have a leader, it has to be of your own race, your own kind. It can't be like how it is in America, where it's a democracy and you got dudes like Trump over us, you know, and so on and so forth.
You setting up heathens over you, it doesn't even make sense, because they don't even understand your plight. They don't even know what you need. At least somebody that's of your nation, they're going through the same thing you're going through, they know what you need. It says, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy power shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother.
Yeah, so these various presidents, they're considered strangers to us. They're not our brothers. So that's why we really have no business participating in this system, the system of democracy. And show me where democracy has ever worked. Every country that practices it is still dirt poor. They get sabotaged by other foreign interests, and they have nothing to show for it except pain and poverty. And that's the reason why they don't like that guy over there in Africa. I forget his name, man. What's his name? Some radical president in Africa right now. See if you can find him. They trying to call him a dictator or whatever. name is
Cyril Rampa something.
no,
Ramaphosa.
his name is Abraham.
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 Toro.
Yeah, yeah. They don't like that guy. You know.
Ibrahim Toro.
Yeah. You know why? Because they said that they gotta start cutting ties with the Europeans and then start coming together with the other African nations. Cut all ties with European colonizers. I heard that they trying to take him up out of his seat, get him up out of there, and the people over there, they love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love him.
It's that Stockholm syndrome.
Well, Stockholm syndrome is a bad thing.
You mean you saying like the Africans love the Europeans? Is that what you
Now
said?
the Africans, they love, well, whatever country he's from, that guy Abraham, his people love him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so they backing like what he's saying, like
Mm-hmm.
they trust him.
Yeah, they do. He's popular. I'm trying to find what country. Burkina?
Burkina Faso.
Abraham, Burkina.
I got something in the AI. It says the individual you're likely referring to is Ibrahim Traore, the current leader of Burkina Faso.
I've never even heard of that country.
I've heard of it.
It's in like Central Africa.
It says who is also a military officer. He took over as interim president in September 2022 following a military coup. He is the head of the patriotic movement for safeguard and restoration, a military junta that seized power in Burkina Faso. Oh, so it sounds like he just went rogue and took over.
Yeah, he did. But in righteousness. They jacking him. This is May? It's chilly out here. They were saying, how is it almost June and it feels like it's winter? Next week's supposed to be June?
Revelation. Good catch. Let's go to Jeremiah. Get to the point. This is Jeremiah 51:7. It says, Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunk of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. And you see, you got nations all over the planet Earth that accept Esau and his philosophies. You know, that whole going to college, getting a degree, and just climbing the socioeconomic ladder, even over there in China, Korea, all these places. But in the end, that doesn't benefit anybody but Esau. If you think you finally got your good job, you got a vehicle, you got your White House and your picket fence, but now you gotta live and pretty much kill yourself to maintain all that stuff in America. Because having these things aren't cheap. You gotta sacrifice something. Whether it be your time, energy, whatever. I'm reading it again. Jeremiah, I'm reading the NLT, 51:5. It says, for the Lord of heaven's armies has not abandoned Israel and Judah. Oh wait, no. 7, Salakia. It says, Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, a cup that made the whole earth drunk. The nations drank Babylon's wine, and it drove them all mad. That's the point.
Yeah, the nations have drunk Babylon's wine. In other words, they took after America's philosophies. You know, like I mentioned earlier, democracy, A two-party system.
Dead. All of it. Before, in the days of old, you just had what you had. You ain't have it, you just ain't have it. But in America, now they let you run up credit card, now they letting you spend money you don't have to just let you dig yourself into a ditch. Which, in the end, they benefit.
But now we're seeing how the system's imploding. It's about to collapse. Factor that in with inflation, which is inevitable. You can't stop inflation.
Right.
So that's how we got here. To this point. And it really is amazing to me how people haven't rebelled yet against this system. This system of capitalism. Because that's really the root of the problem is capitalism. The big corporations just taking advantage of the smaller people.
I always say it every time.
Rich get richer.
As long as people could still get up in the morning and go to work, they're never gonna revolt. Once everything is literally taken from them, that's when they're gonna stand up and like, all right, we gotta do something. But by then, it's gonna be too late.
See, right now, Jake's a little bit satiated. He might have a little place. It might be under Section 8. But hey, look how they about to get rid of that. So,
Tell you they're gonna take everything.
Food stamps.
That's prophecy.
Which they said the biggest beneficiaries of those government programs is
Mostly Edomites.
Edomites. So-called whites. So imagine how they're gonna feel. They're gonna feel like their plight is similar to the plight of a black man, when in reality it's not. You know what I'm saying? Which is why they don't really have sympathy for Jake. They speak about slavery, they speak about, ceasing from teaching that history in schools because they're insensitive to how we've been treated in this country. They look at it like this, like, yo, I don't have much these days. We don't got free health care. We don't go to college for free. I mean, we're on the same level. You know what I mean? Even though that they think that they are better than us and that they should be better than us because they're, white. But in all actuality, so-called whites, they're starting to realize how they've really been taken advantage of in this country as well. And the heart of the problem was the hatred for Jake. You know what I'm saying? So
that's Esau's motto. He ain't even gonna break y'all his own people off a piece of the pie either. That's why you got so many poor white people.
Because if they did that for them, then they would have to do that for us. If they made healthcare free, it would have to be free for everybody. But that would be beneficial for us, right?
Right.
If college was free, that would be beneficial for us. We be
can't have
able to climb up the ladder. But no,
They can't have that.
they got that deep hatred for us, and it's been at the expense of their own people.
This is Revelation 14:8 in the NLT. It says, Then another angel followed him through the sky, shouting, Babylon is fallen, that great city is fallen, because she made all the nations of the world drink the wine of her passionate immorality. And that's what you see here in America. Just everybody just not living right. Even us, I'm not saying we're perfect, but there's certain shit that we not gonna do. Here in America, if you don't have the truth, there's really nothing you won't do. You don't really govern yourself by anything. You just out here living. You got a precept?
Yeah. Philippians 3 and 12. You read it in the NLT?
This is Philippians chapter 3, verse 12 in the NLT. It says, I don't mean to say that I have already achieved these things or that I have already reached perfection. But
Yeah, perfection. Because what we're dealing with, the heart of the problem is the imperfection of perfection. So what we long for is the kingdom of heaven, because that's when perfection is gonna flourish. You know, we're gonna get our new bodies, a new way of life. Like, everything's really just gonna be set up in order for us. Whereas opposed to how we're living now, it's just chaotic. Like everything is situational. Everybody's got their own situation.
Yup. Again, Philippians 3 and 12 in the NLT. So I don't mean to say that I have already achieved these things or that I have already reached perfection, but I pressed on to possess that perfection for which Yahweh first possessed me. No, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focused on this one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead.
Yeah, so you're not supposed to look back. You know, just focus on what's going to happen later on. You know, don't think too far in the past. Don't think too far into the future. Just focus on the present, the now. I mean, we could think far into the future, but it's like it can be unhealthy. Cause you ever just placate and think about the end of this world and like when it's gonna happen, and then sometimes you get sad. You're like, yo, it's not happening fast enough. Like, yo, we thought we was gonna be out of here 4 years ago, 3 years ago.
When I think about having to spend another like 20 years in America, that shit's depressing.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about it. But in a way, you have to prepare yourselves mentally for, you know, us being here another couple years, 2, 3, maybe 5 years.
You gotta prepare yourself for Jacob's trouble, all of that.
You know, because it could happen. Nobody knows the day when Yahweh is going to send his son. But based off what we're seeing, it's close. You know, you see all this madness going on with the tariffs. You know, the tariffs are about to kick in. So all the price of your favorite sneakers and clothes, it's about to go up.
Vehicles, everything.
Yeah. And show me what's manufactured in the U.S. There's not much. A lot of things are imported. It's just physically impossible for certain things to be manufactured or sourced in the U.S. It has to be imported. So it's not good what we see going on. It's not going to be good for the economy.
This is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16 in the KJV. It says, "For which cause we faint not. But though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day."
Yeah, the outward man perishes, but the inward man is renewed day by day. So, like I was saying before, I mean, you got more reasons to focus on the negative than the positive. So just try not to let, you know, the intrusive thoughts win. You know, focus on what you have to look forward to. You know, focus on the positive. Cultivate your passion or your talent. You know what I mean?
It says, "For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory."
And that's a good way to look at it. You know, what we're going through right now is nothing compared to what we're going to receive in the future, reward-wise.
It says, "While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which..."
Yeah. It's windy out here.
Heavy ass sign too.
And you got to think about it too. The Most High is the ultimate Jake, right? He's the supreme ruler of the universe. And you know how Jake is when he's got it, when he has that power, when he got it like that. If he says he got something for you and it's something for you to look forward to, he really means that. You know what I mean? He's not gonna under-deliver.
Right.
So just imagine what the kingdom of heaven is gonna be like.
All this hell we catch here on this side, when we inherit the kingdom, we're gonna be like, look at it like, yo, it was all worth it. Like,
It was all worth it in the end. And then there's gonna be no more tears, no more pain, no more sorrow,
heartache, sickness. 2 Corinthians 4 and 17. It says, "For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory." It says, "While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen."
Yeah. And the things that are seen is the stuff on this earth, right?
Monetary gain.
This world, this society. You know, going to school, you know, getting that car.
Climbing the socioeconomic ladder.
Right. Or getting a girlfriend or whatever, something like that. You know?
Right. All that shit is tainted here in America. You gotta sacrifice way too much to get it.
Yeah, you'll never have like the setup that you want here in America. You know what I'm saying? And even people that are rich, like, it's really a mindset because you can't escape the mind. You know, and being rich comes with its own set of problems.
Yeah, sacrifices.
And that's why the scriptures say that money is a defense. And the scriptures also say that you shouldn't boast within your riches. Because somebody that may have less than you can be in a better mind state than you. So money isn't everything.
People think when you get rich, that's it.
Yeah,
Getting rich isn't like hitting, I mean, you could get rich hitting the lottery, but in most cases, it's not like that. Once you get money, you gotta live to maintain that now. And that's harder than working a 9 to 5. People think you get rich, your life is just easy. Now you gotta work even harder now, because you gotta maintain.
And just look at dudes like Diddy.
Right.
He had all that money and that power. Now look at him.
What good is he doing it?
If he blows trial, they're gonna take all of his money away.
Last verse. 2 Corinthians 4:18. It says, "While we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal."
Yeah. So the things that aren't seen is, you know, whatever we're gonna have in the kingdom, that's gonna be for us. You know, you just gotta have that faith. You see, people sell themselves down the line in this world just so they can have that short satisfaction. But as for us, we're thinking the long game. It's not short-sighted with us. You gotta look at the big picture.
It's James 4:13 in the look in the NLT. It's James 4:13 in the NLT. "Look here, you who say today or tomorrow we are going to a certain town and will stay there a year. We will do business there and make a profit. How do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like morning fog. It's here a little while, then it's gone. What you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to, we will live and do this or that."
Lord willing. That's why with everything I say that I want, or if like I have a goal, I just say Lord willing. Because you could say how you would like things to be 5, maybe 10 years from now, but in all reality, you don't know what the future holds for you.
Right? Life throws curveballs. The Lord throws you a curveball. You just gotta roll with it.
You just hoping and praying that you just really make it through the day.
Right.
So that's what it should be.
Right.
Live day to day.
There's no tomorrow. There's no yesterday. We just taking it day by day.
Yeah. Hope that you don't catch a stray bullet out here in these streets or something like that.
Right.
Because anything could happen. This is Babylon.
Facts. It says James 4:15. It says, "What you ought to say is, if the Lord wants us to, we will live and do this or that. Otherwise, you are boasting about your own plans, and all such boasting is evil."
So that cuts these dudes with their retirement plans, their goals.
But remember, it is sin to know what you ought to do and then not do it. That was the point. Yeah, Proverbs 16:9. It says, a man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directs his steps. So we can have plans to do whatever we want to do. If that's not the Lord's will, it's not going to happen. If it's the Lord's will, it's going to happen. And that's on any level. Oh, Deuteronomy 20.
I thought I was gonna be a musician. I thought I was gonna be an astronaut.
Boxing.
But it didn't happen.
It's Deuteronomy. Like, look at us. Like, when we was coming up, you asked us what we wanted to be. We wouldn't have said outside on the highways and hedges,
If
preaching
you
the
would've
word
told
of the
me
Lord.
In 2010, 2011, that I'd be doing this,
Right.
I'd be in the truth, doing this, I would have looked at you like crazy, like, nah.
I wasn't even hip to the truth till like 2016, 2017, 18, in that range. Like, I ain't never thought about this. And now look at us. We out here on the highways and hedges, you know, religiously for years now. Again, this is the Lord directing our steps. This isn't of us. We know when Saturday comes around, we know what we got to do today.
Do,
You know, if the weather's holding up.
do what you gotta do.
Right.
And
Then you got the rest of the day to do what you want to do. But you got to handle the business first.
Yep. And then, assuming we're of the elect, Lord willing,
Right.
you know, there's gonna come a day where we're gonna reflect. Remember them days when we was out there in the streets, the highways and the byways? People was ignoring us, looking at us like we was crazy. You know what I'm saying?
But you say we're paying into our spiritual bank account. Lord will, in the end, hopefully our money's good with the Lord, so to speak. This is Deuteronomy 28:32.
I'm thinking in the kingdom we're gonna have like a once a week meeting.
Once a week what?
Like a once a week meeting. Meet up with the God.
This is Deuteronomy 28:32. It says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. So again, like, we could do what we could say we want to do something, but again, it's not really up to us. We have no power here in this setup. You could go to school, try and attain a certain job, but in the end, what is that really gonna get you?
And that never sat right with me. I never bought into that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what life is all about. Like, it got to be more than that.
Get Jeremiah 10:23. I always knew this world wasn't right. I just couldn't quite put my finger on it until I came into the truth.
There's Jeremiah 10:23 in the King James. It says, O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps. O Lord, correct me, but with judgment, not in thine anger, lest thou bring me to nothing.
Yeah, because, I mean, we was all off the reservation at one point in our lives. We wasn't always in the truth. And then the Lord would, like, you know, judge us and chastise us. So we may not have realized it or why we was going through it, you know what I'm saying, at the time. But once you come into the truth, you understand that it's like, all right, you got to start doing good. You got to start cleaning up your life and doing better. And just hope and pray that the Most High has that grace and that mercy on you when it's all said and done. And in a way, in a genuine way, the Most High does have that mercy on you when you come into the truth, because you could have still been in the world, doing whatever, you know what I'm saying? Can you imagine that? Like, you didn't have this knowledge? Like, where would you be? Who would you be? What would you be doing?
All I know is I would be in a fucked up predicament. Like, even if I did have, you know, climbed the socioeconomic ladder, where what you really want and where you really want to be, that's not gonna get you closer to it. Like, going to college, getting a job, that's not gonna get you closer to the kingdom of heaven. That's not gonna get you salvation. And that's really what you should long for, because that's what you need. The thing that you went and busted your ass for is gonna get destroyed.
this system is betraying you, and it showed you time and time again that it's untrustworthy.
Right.
I mean, look at people's results. Everybody's in debt. Everybody's stressed. Everybody works. They don't have time to themselves or their family.
Nothing to show for it.
Paying your rip-off car insurance every month.
Rented, still rented. You don't own nothing.
You got to pay for groceries. That's why I said this is the combined increments era. 2 is better than 1.
Right.
So you better find yourself a good situation.
Or at least a plausible situation.
Yeah.
You're never gonna find things the way you want it here, but something that's
Yeah, good enough situation.
right.
And maybe you do have a good job where you can support yourself. You know what I'm saying? But the reality of it is, what's the statistics? They said that maybe like 10% of the population in this country make over $70,000 a year. That's a small,
Something like that, yeah. Small percentage.
That's a small percentage of people. So if you make over 70K, you're really in like the top percentage of earners. Combine that with race discrimination and you not being able to get a job after you come home from college, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what is it worth? How far do you get? What are your results? Are they good? You got to think about that.
And some people, it's not even like they're making $75,000 off one job. They're working multiple jobs to get the $75,000. Again, that's the sacrifice. You want more money, or you want time to yourself.
Yeah.
The kingdom of heaven, we're not gonna have to meet at that crossroad. We're gonna be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want, in righteousness, of course.
That's why you shouldn't trust in this man's system.
That's what I'm saying. You mean to tell me this is better than that? I don't believe it. I don't believe you. Last verse. Jeremiah 10:25. It says, pour out the fury upon the heathens that know thee not, and upon the families that call not on thy name. For they have eaten up Jacob, and devoured him, and consumed him, and have made his habitation desolate.
And who has done that? Esau. And also the other nations as well. They're taking crafty counsel against us, like it says in Psalms 83. You know, the other nations, they've made pacts with Esau to benefit themselves as a nation. You know what I'm saying? While at the same time keeping the nation of Israel down. Because it's like that all across the board. You look at NATO and the EU, you don't see any so-called black countries in there or Hispanic countries in there.
Right.
But that's what BRICS is for now, right? BRICS is supposed to be the counter to NATO. But if you ask me, I think that BRICS is just really a disguise. They're two sides of the same coin. You know, the elites, they're understanding that this current system that we're under is getting ready to implode. This debt-based system, you know, printing infinite money, deviating from the gold standard. It's just getting ready to collapse. So now what I think they're trying to do is control the collapse, you know. And they're doing that by way of the tariffs, because there's no way that the tariffs make sense logically.
Right.
There's no way.
It's all, you know, it's like the first domino dropping, you know, it's all gonna lead to something else. That's the plan. Something worse. That MOTB. This is Mark 3:25. It says, and if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. So you got the Democratic Republican Party, you got NATO and the EU and BRICS. You know, all these counters to one another, instead of trying to meet in the middle and come up with a strategic plan to help the people. Yeah. That's not what they're there for.
After that, get Revelation 18.
Revelation 18
and 3.
Start at the top?
No, verse 3.
Verse 3. This is Revelation 18 and 3. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich
merchants of the earth have waxed rich. So America's always been that biggest. Well, I wouldn't say always, but for the most part now, they're the biggest consuming nation on this earth. At one point in time, they did manufacture stuff, but they sold that off to offshore countries. But many countries have gotten rich off the U.S. And now, with these tariffs, it poses a threat to these other nations making money. It not only affects the U.S., but it affects other countries when you think about it.
It says, Revelation 18:3 again. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. And those delicacies are getting cut short, It's going to be less and less to dole out. With these tariffs especially, you're not going to be able to buy what you used to buy. That grocery shop, that grocery cart is going to look lighter and lighter in the times
It's going to cost more.
Way too much.
It's going to cost more too. So that's going to have an effect on the consumer spending. People are going to start cutting corners. They're like, you know what, we can't afford this, we got to make cutbacks.
3D printed meat and all that. Revelation 6. Revelation chapter 6, verse 6. I'll start at 5. It says, and when he opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst.
The black horse represents famine.
It says, and I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. So imagine just spending, a large amount of your income on something like bread or eggs. You see the price of eggs went up, so everything is going up to the point where you're not going to be able to afford everything you want. You're going to make sacrifices. All right, I'm going to get this, I can't get this. I can't afford this right now, so I'm going to substitute it for this. And then it's going to get to a point where you're not going to be able to afford anything unless you have that MOTB, that CHIP.
And it's going to be like everything across the board. It could be like beauty products,
everything,
health products,
clothing.
That's why in these last days you're gonna start seeing a lot of women start going natural. They're gonna have no choice but to wear their real hair.
That weave is already expensive. That was it on that. You got a precept?
Proverbs 18:3.
This is Proverbs chapter 18, verse 3. It says, when the wicked cometh, then cometh also contempt, and with ignominy reproach.
Look up that word contempt.
That word. Ignominy in the Greek, Salaki in the Hebrew, shame, disgrace, dishonor.
And contempt means springing from evil, springing from prosperity, springing from judgment.
Read it again, Proverbs 18:3, reading the NLT. It says, doing wrong leads to disgrace, and scandalous behavior brings contempt. Wise words are like deep waters. Wisdom flows from the wise like a bubbling brook. It is not right to acquit the guilty or deny justice to the innocent. Fools' words get them into constant quarrels. They are asking for a beating. The mouths of fools are their The mouths of fools are their ruin. They trap themselves with their lips. Rumors are dainty morsels that sink deep into one's heart. A lazy person is bad as someone who destroys things. The name of the Lord is as a strong fortress. The godly run to him and are safe.
Yep, and that's the point.
That's it on that? All right.
About to wrap it up soon. You want to take us out? Damn, back hurts. Dealing with that all week.
I think I read that. Yeah, I read that. Close out. Is that James 1? I'll start at the top. This is James chapter 1, verse 1 in the NLT. It says, "This letter is from James, a slave of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua." It says, "I am writing to the 12 tribes, Jewish believers scattered abroad, greeting."
And that word should really be Israelites.
It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy."
Yeah, remember what I said earlier? When Jacob's trouble comes, that's going to be when I'm the happiest. We'll see. I'm going to be the happiest. So I'm going to know that, like, yo, this is it. We at the end.
Yeah. It ain't gonna be no misunderstanding in that day. We're gonna know, oh yeah.
It's going to be a struggle, but you're going to know that you're going to come out on top. At least as a nation of people. Because the scriptures say better is the end of a thing than the beginning. So even if you don't make it, you got to look at the bigger picture. You know, the Most High took down Esau, and he's going to exalt his people.
Right.
That's a win for everybody.
Again, James 1 and 2 in NLT. It says, "Dear brothers and sisters, when troubles come your way, consider it an opportunity for great joy. For you know what," it says, "for you know that when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow." And that's the point, you know, all this hell that we catch here, Lord will, it's not for nothing, you know?
Right.
So, that's it on that.
So with that, we're going to wrap it up.
Shalom.
Shalom. Until next time.